we sit here in downtown Phoenix, which there's development all around us, the grocery store, there's a condo seemingly on every corner. What has been the mix? Is the city doing the proper mix of investment and attention to downtown Phoenix versus the rest of the city? Ms. Gallego.
I want to work for a city that works for everybody. We need investments in every corner of our city. I worked to make sure we had even fines and fees across the city. You shouldn't have to pay more if you live in one area than in another. We're one community. I've worked to bring special attention to outlying areas, whether some of our newly developed areas, working on the South Mountain Tech Corridor for the southern portion of our city, trying to support bioscience and healthcare development, technology in the Desert Ridge area. And I'll focus on the entire city. I was honored to have support from and be the leading vote getter in precincts from Ahwatukee all the way to the northern part of our city. We need a strong downtown. It was a privilege as well to represent downtown. It's the core, it's often the first part people see when they're visiting our city. But we are a multitasking city, and we can do well in every corner.
Thank you. Mr. Valenzuela, the thoughts on the city's attention to downtown versus the rest?
Well, we do want a thriving city all the way around. So I represented District 5 as an example, Central and West Phoenix, which is part of Maryville. A strong Maryville undoubtedly helps a strong Phoenix, helps create a strong Phoenix. A strong Laveen, a strong South Phoenix helps create a strong Phoenix. A strong Arcadia, North Phoenix, Ahwatukee, you get the point. So we are a collection of neighborhoods. In my district, far more than $1 billion of capital projects were in the ground during my time in office. Everything from public funding projects like light rail to private funding projects like Grand Canyon University as an example. I will say I've been honored to chair downtown aviation, economy, and innovation. The downtown is an economic driver of our city. This is how we provide for police service in places like Laveen or Ahwatukee or wherever the case might be. So we really do need to be focused on downtown and, in fact, moving downtown forward.
Should the city still be in the business of providing those? Has the time for those kind of development incentives ready to end? We'll stay with you, Mr. Valenzuela.
We have something called GIPLET here in the city of Phoenix, and it's an incredibly important tool. I will tell you that we should never lead in a conversation with a developer or a business with a tax incentive. I have this vision of leading with our talent base. I'm passionate about it. I created Code Phoenix, which provides free coding and robotics to all of our kids in Phoenix without raising a tax, by working with the private sector in our libraries. But it's those types of programs that will bring these companies in. That said, we need to hold on to these tools such as a GIPLET. We don't have TIF. We don't have the same type of version statewide. So something that I want to just mention, of all of the thousands of projects in our city that has helped us move our economy forward, only 16 are under a GIPLET. The project that you're talking, that you mentioned, the grocery store. These are going to grocery store, homes, and the most modern tech space that we will have in downtown Phoenix. It was a good investment.
Is the time for GIPLET's development incentives to end, or should the city still be in the business of handing those out?
Before I ran for office, I worked in economic development, trying to work to bring good jobs and projects to our community. I saw that 49 other states have additional tools that we don't have in Arizona when we're competing. We've done very well because it is a wonderful place to live with great people and a great climate, but we are competing on an uneven playing field. So I don't want to give up the GIPLET tool, and I would like to see us to have additional tools to be able to attract economic development. I hold an MBA and have a good background to work with to be able to bring these good jobs to our community. I have opposed some GIPLETs. For example, there was a very prominent one with the Circles Record Building, where the owner took a wrecking ball to it while we were negotiating for that type of tax abatement. I immediately said that's not how we should be negotiating. The city should not offer aid. Daniel continued to support offering that aid, and at the same time was raising campaign contributions. So I would say that I have been more selective on those issues.
I have to, can
yes.
I please, okay, thank you. That particular building, the Circles building, which by the way, that's a beautiful piece of property now. and that is an economic driver now. That was not something that I immediately jumped out and said, you know, we should offer a giblet. That's not my district. They could not meet with you, Ms. Gallego. The neighbors were coming out wanting a discussion with a policymaker who serves in downtown Phoenix. The neighbors were driving the conversation with those in the business community. And since they couldn't get Ms. Gallego, they came to me, and I'm always going to listen. I'm always going to bring people together, have a discussion, and do the right thing by our city. So what you won't get with me, I'm not an all or nothing type of candidate. I'm a candidate or elected official. People need to talk these issues through. We need to lay the facts on the table. Governing is hard work. It's all about problem solving, and you can't find a solution unless you're looking for one.
You might have a different version of the Circles record story.
Yes. The Circles Record Building was also not in my city council district. And I do want to give credit to Mayor Greg Stanton, who was the first to come out and say, we don't negotiate with wrecking balls. But I believed he was absolutely right. Many neighbors came to me and said, we think this is an inappropriate way to negotiate. This is a terrible precedent going forward. And we need leaders, particularly in the mayor's office, who are clear, who take stands. That's something I've done throughout this campaign. At a previous debate, when we were discussing whether or not we needed to invest in water infrastructure, I was clear, I answered, yes, we did. Councilman Valenzuela said, I need to do more study, I need to do more homework, I'll get back to you. My position on the Suns arena has been clear for more than a year. He made up his mind less than a week before the vote. If you're going to be leading a city, you have to take positions. You do your homework, you do your research, and then you lead.
I have a different version of that.
Of the water and the Suns arena?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we were asked about the water rate hike. It's probably been several months. I mean, maybe a year ago. I fact check it, maybe 9 months ago. Forgive me for not jumping out immediately and saying, yes, we need another tax. I would hope that the mayor of this city does their studying, actually meets with people, meets with subject matter experts in the city and outside of local government to figure out exactly what is needed. Now, the right thing was done. Absolutely the right thing was done. What I wish we would have done with the large investment in our water infrastructure is add more technology. I want a smarter city. There's no secret. I've been leading with tech and innovation in this city. So that's the water rate issue. As far as the Suns arena, Kate says Daniel made up his mind a week before the vote. You know, I studied. I met with people. What Ms. Gallego did was she landed and was an absolute no, regardless of whether that was a city-owned building, which it is, that we would be on the hook. Our taxpayers are on the hook on this city-owned building. There's a $182 million overall economic impact of the arena. Think of the 1,100 jobs and so on and so forth. Ms. Gallego landed with a no without meeting with anyone, without realizing what the proposal was in the end. And I don't know if you want a mayor who's going to make that type of a stance without realizing the impact of our city.
And very briefly, your thoughts on the Suns arena. Was your opposition to it a political, I mean, it might have made sense politically when the deal was first announced. Was it a political decision?
Voters need to know where we stand. I believe that professional sports are among the most profitable enterprises out there, and they should pay for their own buildings. I got into politics because I believe in certain things and I want to advocate for them. I believe it's my responsibility to let the voters know what I believe in. Many reasonable people can disagree with me on this and other issues, but you have to stand for something in this business. You have to be in here for a reason. The same is true with the water infrastructure. I had served on the city council for 5 years and was well aware that there was a drought on the Colorado River. It's been happening for 18 years. This did not sneak up on us. I met with multiple stakeholders, including several members of the Central Arizona Water Conservation District Board, 5 of whom are endorsing my campaign because I've been meeting with them for years. That's why I'm prepared to lead. I was able to take these meetings ahead of time because for several years I've served as a full-time member of the Phoenix City Council. That means I had the time to do my research. I didn't have a second job. I would have loved to have had the additional income, but I felt that I could do more for the people of the city of Phoenix if I put my heart and soul into this and gave it my all.
And I'll mention for him that he's a Glendale firefighter,
yes.
was your other job.
Yes.
But very briefly, again, I'll try again. The arena deal, when it was first announced, was not very popular. I think our columnist Lori Roberts helped make it not very popular. Was your initial opposition a philosophical thought, or there was no political calculation that it's popular to be against the Suns Arena when it was first announced?
I have made statements against public funding for sports for years, long before there was a specific proposal. I did take the time to meet with representatives for the Phoenix Suns. I do understand that sports are an enormous industry here, but like many other enormous industries, I'd like to see them pay for their own buildings.
Okay.
Richard, can I please mention?
Is this the part-time?
This is, you know, it's interesting. As a firefighter, and by the way, I will be putting that career on hold and being your full-time mayor, but I have to say, I have to point out, and this should be fact-checked, as a firefighter, I still am the only member up here on this podium that has never missed a meeting. I would call in from abroad at 3 a.m. local time to not miss a meeting. So it's an interesting comment of what Ms. Gallego just mentioned about giving it your all. I take this responsibility serious. And the other thing I'll just mention, we are on the same page when it comes to funding sports teams. The way Ms. Gallego frames this issue is as if we were building a new arena for a basketball team. That has not been the topic. We have an aging infrastructure. This is a city-owned asset that's been built 25 years ago. We have a responsibility with our asset. So what I have not heard from Ms. Gallego is if we had not invested using the tourism funding for its intended purpose, and if that arena, if we have to close the doors on that arena, what do we do with that city-owned asset then?
May I?
Yes.
When I was elected to the city council, the city owned the Sheraton Hotel in downtown Phoenix. That was owned by taxpayers, a city-owned building. It was losing money. The city of Phoenix sold the hotel to a company that operates hotels and has that expertise. We as a city don't have the expertise in running hotels. That's not what we're good at. That's not a core function. I feel the same is true for operating sports arenas. We should sell it to the team. The Suns should own their own arena. They know best about what makes a great basketball team. There's a lot of upgrades they've requested to things like scoreboards. We don't know about scoreboards. The keg room is leaking. They're the ones that sell beer. We're not experts in selling beer. I'm sure there's any number of private businesses that would love to have us build them a beer room, but that's not what we should be doing with limited taxpayer dollars.
And I guess there's a version of a question that was asked, has the city gone away from its core function? Should the city have been in the hotel business? Should the city have been in the arena business? Philosophically, or are there more core functions that the city should focus in on?
The city's core function is the #1 debate issue in this entire election. It's public safety. It's keeping people safe. Neither of us were on the council when the city got into the hotel business. I'm proud to say that I was one of the people who got us out of the hotel business. Now, as it pertains to the arena, again, I still did not hear what Ms. Gallego would do with this piece of infrastructure, and I don't know if just simply selling it fixes the problem. We have a $182 million, again, overall economic impact for that arena. 1,100 jobs in that arena that are not Phoenix Suns jobs tied to 50 companies. That is an economic driver. I'd also like to know if Ms. Gallego met with anyone, had any conversation about selling the arena. Has Ms. Gallego sat down with the Phoenix Suns and had a discussion about selling the arena? Because if those discussions weren't had, I don't know why she'd bring them up today.
Yeah, and a version of that, obviously you sound like your plan was to sell the arena, but was it a mistake for the city to get involved in building arenas, building hotels? It sounds like you thought those might have been mistakes.
I, as mayor, will try to push the city to focus on core services and services that benefit the most people in our community. So we need to look at the things that people depend on us for. I would have rather have spent that $150 million on things like addressing public safety, homelessness. We have a lot of potholes to fill. Those are things that are more core services, and we have to be able to prioritize. It would be wonderful to be able to do everything and to say yes to everybody, but I've shown that I'm willing to question certain spending items, And so I would ask Councilman Valenzuela, what are spending items that he's successfully questioned? And I also want to answer,
Sure.
which I answered before. I did meet with the Phoenix Suns. I understand they are an important economic driver. I want to keep them in our downtown, but I'm ideologically opposed to writing more than $100 million in checks for that purpose.
And I want to get to another city project, which is...
But she has asked me a
Yes.
question, but if you're, again, ideology, that is the word, okay? The mayor needs to be a coalition builder and a problem solver. Going back to that original question, Mayor Paul Johnson and his council had the vision. They wanted to have a city-owned arena in downtown Phoenix. They also created something called a sports facilities fund. The funding will not come from people who live here, right? It's not coming from our general fund. They're funds that come from tourists, hotel room fees and rental car fees. It goes into this pot of money
Right.
to keep this arena going.
And it sounds like you're saying that wasn't a mistake back in the 90s.
Well, there was a vision there. Ms. Gallego would have you think that this $150 million should just be used for whatever else. It doesn't solve the problem of what we do with this arena.